When I say the word espresso, this is what comes to your mind, right? But what if I say iced espresso? What do you think that would look like? Well, here in Thailand, most people would say that it looks like this. Let me explain. First, let's talk about how do we make it then. Now, there is a lot of recipes online, but let me give you a rough guideline. I will link some of the recipe below, I guess. Well, you will need 3 ingredients. You will need an espresso shot, about 120 milliliters. Let me explain later, okay? Now, you will need a sweet and condensed milk. And you also need an evaporated or just normal milk. Now the ratios would be different depending on your taste of course, but in general you would want around half of your drinks to be just coffee and the other half will be the mixture of other ingredients. And there you have it, the Thai style iced espresso. And it tastes just as what you would expect it. It is bitter, it is also at the same time very rich and very sweet. The beans are usually dark roasted, so it has a very smoky aftertaste as well. Alright, now that we have our cup of coffee, let's talk about how it came to be. First thing first, Thailand is both the producing and a consuming country for coffee. And from what we know, the people in this region has been aware of the coffee plant since around the latter half of Ayutthaya Kingdom. But it never really gains any widespread popularity among the locals. Things would change however, in around the year 1904, when a Muslim man from a southern province of Songkhla returned from his pilgrimage with some coffee seeds that he decided he would grow on his farm alongside other plants such as rubber trees, thus beginning the production of coffee on a very small scale. Oh yeah, by the way, those seeds that he brought back, those are Robusta. Now flash forward to around 1950. Arabica coffee now were being introduced to Thai people by, you guessed it, Italian. And then later in around the year 1973, Arabica coffee were starting to be grown on the mountainous northern part of Thailand as an initiative from the government because, and I'm not joking, they were trying to stop people growing opium on that area, so they said, grow some coffee. Well, I guess they decided to replace one drug with another drug, I guess. And now to this day, the northern part of Thailand remains to be the de facto producer of Thailand's coffee beans. Now let's talk about coffee drinking culture in Thailand. Basically, you can think of it as 2 different cultures. We have the old school one or the traditional one, and we also have the newer school one or the contemporary one. And the differences is in brewing method. Now, when did people start drinking coffee in Thailand is a bit hard to tell, but by the 1950s, it is very common drinks already, and the way that the people brew it has been using the cloth as a filter to brew the coffee grind. And during the World War II, when the coffee was expensive, people would also mix in some grains such as corn or wheat and other things to reduce the cost of coffee as well. This also has effects on the taste of the coffee. Now, the coffee that was brewed this way was usually very strong and very bitter, so people would mix in with condensed milk or sugar to make it easier to drink. People weren't really putting milk in their coffee as drinking milk was not really a part of Thailand's culture. Also, this could also be due to milk being expensive as well. So for older generation of people, when you say coffee, this is the type of coffee that they would think of. Now later, in the 90s to 2000s, the second wave of coffee culture starting to appear in Thailand using the espresso machine as well as other brewing methods. For a starter, the first Starbucks in Thailand opened its door in 1998. This was when the population were introduced to menus such as latte, americano, cappuccino, and of course, the topic of this video, espresso. I believe that the iced espresso that we have today is the product of both the old school and the new school culture mixing together to make espresso easier to drink. First, Thailand is a hot country, so if the drink is hot, put some ice on it. Second, espresso tends to be very bitter, and we were used to coffee being sweet, so we put something sweet in it. And third, it lacks richness that we come to expect from coffee, so hit it with the condensed milk, baby. Now at this point, you might be wondering, what is the difference then between iced espresso and latte? Well, this is where I would like to bring you back to the beginning of the video when I talk about the recipe. I said that the espresso size was 120 milliliters. Now, in case you weren't familiar with the normal size of espresso shot, for a double shot espresso, it is usually only between 30 and 40 milliliters of coffees only. You pull 50 milliliters of shot and I already be look at you funny, okay? And generally speaking, when you ordered a latte here in Thailand, we would stick to that size. But for espresso, well, espresso is for people who really wants the coffee taste, right? So that is why we pull the shot way longer than normal to give you more coffee. Now, the mentality is very similar to the old school tradition that I talked to you earlier, where the coffee is usually just a big black cup of coffee mixed in with a little bit of a condensed milk. But it just, instead of brewing it with the cloth filter, we moved to the espresso machine. And there you have it, the iced espresso of Thailand. I think it's very interesting how cultures evolve and change over time. And this is just one example of that. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Bye bye, thank you.